everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we are going to be discussing, could Felix be the anti-hero that Miraculous Ladybug needs? So we will discuss the needs part in a minute, but first we are going to first of all define what an anti-hero is, because I keep hearing people say he is one, but then they define it and they're not defining an anti-hero, they're defining a reluctant hero. And those two things are not the same. So me, who has a degree in creative writing, a master's in it and is doing a PhD in it, and has studied character archetypes for years, we will now define once and for all what an anti-hero is to stop the confusion. So the definition of an anti-hero is the main character, we'll get to that part in a minute, who lacks conventional heroic qualities and attributes, e.g. courage, kindness, loyalty, generally being a nice person. So, the main character part. Obviously Felix isn't a main character of Miraculous, he's only been in it twice. He is quite obviously not a main character. However, with the way Miraculous works, oftentimes, okay, most of the time, Marinette, she's the main character of the show and is also the main character of most episodes, with Adrian having the next most main character episodes, then followed by Alia. However, because the show is set up that way, often a different character can become the main character of just an episode. I would kind of argue Milene, even though she's more of a side character, Milene was definitely more of a main character in Mega Leech, same with Rose in Guilt Trip, and same with Julica in Crocodile. I would even argue in season 3 in the episode Miraculous, Chloe was the main character of the episode. Alia was quite definitely the main character of Sentibublet. Adrian was the main character of Rocketeer. It really changes depending on what they want the plot to be for that episode, so I would argue Felix was the main character of episode 9, Daddy Agrest, this season. So we could definitely argue it was also Daddy Agrest himself, we could argue it was a split between them, but he was definitely, I think we could agree that he was definitely up there with being one of the main characters in that episode. So no, he's not a main character in the show. Like I said, he's only been in the show twice. He quite clearly is not the main character. The main character will always be Marinette. But with the way Miraculous is set up, there are grounds for a character becoming a main character just for an episode and then going back to being more of a side character instead. So the second part of the definition is someone who lacks conventional heroic traits, which Felix definitely does. He definitely seems kind and loyal to his mum and kind of kind to Adrian from what we see of their relationship. Obviously in that first debut episode he wasn't that kind to Adrian, but towards the end of the episode after he'd said sorry he was, and he was quite nice to Adrian in episode 9 as well. He doesn't seem like a bad person. However, I wouldn't say Felix is a good person. He's mean and abrasive, but that doesn't mean he's a bad person. I'm not saying Felix is a bad person. I'm sure he has a capacity for good within him. Same with Chloe. It's just really up to the writers to bring it out, and honestly I don't know why they're doing what they're doing with Chloe. I don't personally understand. But yeah, I hope there's more to it. But obviously I've seen as much of the show as the rest of you, so I don't know. I'm just hoping for the best. So if I haven't convinced you that Felix is an anti-hero, he actually possesses a lot of similar qualities to the most famous anti-hero of them all, and the most famous anti-hero ever is Shrek.
Oh, hello there!
Now, you all know how much I love Shrek, but if you haven't seen Shrek, Shrek is definitely an anti-hero, and if you haven't seen Shrek, are you okay? Just a question. Are you alright? How are you coping with your life knowing you've never seen the masterpiece that is Shrek? If you live in the UK, it's usually on over Christmas on telly. Please watch it if you haven't seen it. But chef's kiss. It's perfection. It's like a very, it's not a Disney film, it's a DreamWorks film. It's meant to be like an anti-Disney take on fairy tales. But let me briefly tell you what happens in the first Shrek film without me spoiling the ending. So Shrek is an ogre, he likes to live in isolation. He has this big boundary set up around his swamp. He wants to be left alone. Just wants to be on his own. However, Lord Farquaad one day decides to put all of these random fairy tale creatures on Shrek's land, and Shrek is not happy, and these creatures are saying, well, this is our home now, you can't make us leave. So Shrek's like, okay, well, I'm just going to take it to the top and I'm just going to go and tell Lord Farquaad himself to get these fairy tale creatures out of my swamp. So he travels to Lord Farquaad's castle, and Lord Farquaad's like, okay, no problem, I'll get rid of them. if you do something for me first, I want to marry Princess Fiona, but she's currently locked away in a dragon guarded tower. There's like a volcano and there's lava everywhere. Could you go and get her for me, and if you bring her back safely, I will clear your land for you. And Shrek is like, okay, no problem, it's a done deal. Now, whilst it sounds like he's doing something nice for Lord Farquaad, Shrek isn't a nice person. Shrek isn't a nice ogre. He's not doing it because, oh no, like, I'm so worried about Princess Fiona, she's going to get eaten by this dragon, she'll never be able to escape on her own. He's not doing it because he wants her and Lord Farquaad to live happily ever after. He doesn't care. He is only doing this so he can be alone. He's doing this for selfish means. And as we see with Felix, he does a lot of different things, but for himself. So for example, in his debut episode, the way he treated Adrian and all of his friends was to like get revenge on Adrian for Adrian not being able to go to his dad's funeral, to Adrian's uncle's funeral. Although, just a bit of... sometimes the things in Miraculous, they're just a bit too convenient. Like, Felix has known Adrian all his life, presumably. It seems like they grew up together from what Chloe and Adrian have said, that they've known each other since they were all very young, and Adrian and Felix are cousins, so that would make sense. So surely Felix knows just how strict Gabriel is. And, you know, even if Adrian had wanted to go to the funeral and Gabriel said no, he wouldn't have been able to. Like, it is in a different country, it's not like Felix lives across the road. He would have had to go to London, presumably, for the funeral. You know what I mean? Like, so it does seem a bit weird he's taking this revenge out on Adrian when it more than likely wasn't Adrian's fault. I know Adrian hasn't stated exactly why he didn't really go, but yeah, just a bit too convenient plot for the episode, because the writers all know, like, oh, Adrian isn't really mean, he can't have done anything mean to Felix, we're gonna have to think of something else to make Felix want to do this to him. So he did some not very nice things in that episode, so whilst he was definitely the main character, he didn't really save the day at all. However, in episode 9, I would argue, whilst with obviously the help of Ladybug and Cat Noir, Felix really did kind of help save the day, and again, this episode was just a bit too convenient with Gabriel leaning over, oh, you can see the brooch, oh no, and Felix doesn't even know what a camouflage Miraculous looks like anyway, so I feel like you should have had to have more information to get to the conclusion that Gabriel was Shadow Daddy, but whatever, it's happened now, Felix knows. Okay. Whatever. It was just too convenient. So he was kind of helpful in that episode. So it does kind of make him the anti-hero of the episode. Now, I don't think Felix is a reluctant hero. So a reluctant hero is someone who does possess heroic qualities, but doesn't want to go out and save people because they think it's too dangerous, they just don't want to for whatever reason. So Marinette, for example, back in Origins, whilst I would say Marinette now is more of a normal hero, back in Origins, at the end of the first episode, she was like, I can't be Ladybug, I didn't purify Akuma correctly, things are gonna get worse, I can't be Ladybug, I'm wrong for the choice, I'm putting the earrings back. The only reason she put the earrings back in was because she needed to save Alia. She wanted to give those earrings to Alia, if you remember back in Origins. So Marinette was very much, at the start anyway, a reluctant hero. On the other hand, compared to Marinette's at the start of the show anyway, Adrian was very, very eager to be Cat Noir. He was so excited, didn't even listen fully to Plag's instructions. He just absolutely went for it. He did not care in the slightest. He just went for it. He was ready. So whilst Adrian and Marinette both possess heroic qualities, ignoring Marinette's stalking, let's just forget that she does that because I don't like it. I genuinely thought she was going to stop. Like, I thought she was going to stop and then Simple Man happened, and you all know how I feel about Simple Man, so yeah. Anyway, so they both possess heroic qualities, but Marinette was very reluctant, she didn't want to do it, she didn't feel like she was capable to do it, and Adrian was like, woo, let's go for it. Same with Alia, she was extremely, extremely excited to be given the Fox Miraculous, and she seems largely okay with all these new responsibilities she's been given this season. I know she felt a bit horrible for lying to Nino about it, but she eventually told him in Rocketeer. Not 100% sure I agree with that decision, but okay. Other than that though, she seems like a more kind of stereotypical, normal kind of hero. So Alia and Adrian are the more normal kind of heroes. Marinette was reluctant at first, but more a normal hero. Then compared to them, Felix is an anti-hero. I feel like Felix has the capacity to save the day, but only for selfish means. So this is what I mean about why he's the anti-hero that Miraculous Ladybug needs. So even though, in my opinion, it was definitely a leap of logic for him to have watched that video of Alia's and then see the brooch and for him to be like, oh yeah, my uncle's Shadow Daddy, I feel like there were some steps missing. He's obviously worked it out. And he'd worked it out, in my opinion, by the time of the Akuma attack. He'd realised what was going on, he'd realised the Gabriel in front of him wasn't the real one, hence why he got the button or whatever it was and ripped his uncle's pants. He had realised what was going on. However, if he was so certain that his uncle was Shadow Daddy, why didn't he tell Ladybug and Cat Noir? He had enough time in the fight, in my opinion. There was a good chunk of the fight where he was alone with Cat Noir, and right at the end, if he felt desperate enough, I feel like he could have pulled them aside before everyone else went back in and said, hey, I think he's Shadow Moth, I think you need to investigate this, without Gabriel hearing them. But Felix didn't do that. Why? Because Felix is an anti-hero. If this had been Alia instead, if Alia had walked into the party and she had seen that brooch and had even suspected ever so slightly that Gabriel was Shadow Moth, she would have told Ladybug immediately. Even if she didn't know that Ladybug was Marinette yet, I feel like Alia would have done everything in her power to find Ladybug and tell her who she thought Shadow Moth was and why. But Felix hasn't done that because Alia is a normal hero, but Felix is an anti-hero, and he is selfish, and he's keeping it to himself for his own personal gain. Like with Shrek, he's not doing these things because he wants to save a princess and he wants to give all these fairy tale creatures a better home. He's doing it so they all get off his swamp. Felix hasn't told Ladybug and Cat Noir what he suspects because he's not a good person. He will want something in return. So my theory is, obviously we've seen that screenshot of Felix, I'm pretty sure on the train, with at least the fake Peacock Miraculous. I'm assuming he also has the fake Butterfly Miraculous somewhere. It seems a bit odd he'd only take one, I don't know. And honestly, I'm not 100% certain why Gabriel has put them there in the first place, because surely that would just confirm to Felix that his suspicions were correct. I don't know, I'm a bit unsure about why they are there, but okay, they're there and we know Felix gets them. I'm 100% certain that that screenshot we got from Gloob is Felix and not Adrian. Even if Felix didn't exist in the show, I'd still be like, no. It's Felix. I'm 100% certain it is Felix. It would be a cool twist if it was Adrian, but I'm certain it is Felix. Like, it has to be Felix. Like, it's Felix. It's Felix. It's Felix. Why is he dressed as Adrian? I don't know, but it's Felix. Like, it's Felix. If you don't agree with me, you can leave. It's I'm kidding. But you know what I mean. It's Felix. So what I think happens, so Felix gets the Miraculouses, puts one or both of them on whilst in the train toilets. I'm pretty sure it's on the train. He's not in Adrian's bathroom. I've checked. This is a screenshot from Ephemeral. He's not in Adrian's bathroom. Okay. Why is that even a location in the show? I don't even know. But anyway, he's not in Adrian's bathroom. So he tries to use the fake Miraculouses, but they don't work, and obviously we know they're fake because they should be in camouflage mode since he's not transformed, so they're fake Miraculouses. And at this point, Felix, I would assume, would feel very, very betrayed by his uncle. So because his uncle has done something to him, he's like, well, now I have to get revenge on him. So not only will Felix want the other ring back, I'm assuming Felix wants both rings since they both belong to his family, he's going to want the other ring back as well. He also wants to enact revenge on his uncle. And who better to do that with than Ladybug and Cat Noir? So Felix will kind of ultimately help save the day, but for his own selfish reasons. So yeah, he's helping Paris and he's helping Ladybug and Cat Noir, but because he hates his uncle and because he wants the ring back. And how ironic would it be that if this whole thing comes full circle, that Felix helps take down his uncle to get a piece of jewellery from him, when all this time Daddy Agress was trying to get 2 pieces of jewellery from Marinette and Adrian. Poetic irony at its finest. So I think that's maybe what could happen. And we also do need to ask the question, why would Gabriel put them there if he didn't want Felix to know he was Shadow Moth? I do think that's a bit weird. However, getting a bit sentimental here, I think possibly Gabriel has done this because he knows he can control Felix, whether that's by sentimonster thing, whatever Felix's amok is, or just because he has the Peacock Miraculous, or because he has something else held over him. I did a full video breaking down that scene from Daddy Aggress where they're in the portrait room and Gabriel's saying, "I'm not Shadow Moth, but I can destroy you," stuff like that. And whilst I think it definitely hints at sentimonster stuff, I don't feel like it was confirmation. I did kind of theorise that maybe he's alluding to something else, that possibly like Gabriel and Amelie have some sort of business partnership and Gabriel could just drop Amelie and they'd be left with no money, or perhaps Gabriel just gives them money because, you know, that's his wife's family, you know, he wants to support them in whatever way they can, or he could maybe, you know, destroy Felix's and his mum's reputation, stuff like that. I don't think it was cut and dry. Felix is definitely a sentimonster. I feel like that scene could have been interpreted in different ways, both from the French and the English. I analysed both scenes and I was like, they're both quite ambiguous. I didn't think either scene 100% confirmed Felix was a sentimonster. In my opinion, please feel free to disagree with me. So I feel like if Felix does this, it could either confirm the sentimonster theory or it could confirm that Gabriel has something else over Felix or something else over Amelie that he can use against Felix, perhaps. Because why would Gabriel essentially reveal himself to be Shadow Moth if he didn't feel like he could control Felix in some way? So in that case, Felix wouldn't be able to help save the day since Gabriel would stop him from doing that, but I feel like Felix might be able to find a loophole and somehow be able to tell them what's going on. I feel Felix would be able to do that, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing if he can't tell Ladybug and Cat Noir, because I feel like it would confirm the sentimonster theory. Now, back to the title of the video. Why is this something Miraculous needs? Because things need to be spiced up a bit, and I think they could be spiced up with some spicy betrayal. So, I had initially thought that maybe Cat Noir wouldn't necessarily start working with Hawkmoth, but would maybe just work on his own, not be Cat Noir anymore, stay away from Ladybug, because of the way the season has been going. However, recently he seemed kind of okay with everything. He seemed fine in Ephemeral, he seemed fine in Dearest Family. I know in episode 16, Haxan, right at the end, Ladybug did tell him, "Hey, I've told someone else my identity," but the way she phrased it wasn't ultimately clear, and one of the ambassadors did confirm that Cat Noir wasn't actually paying attention. So I don't know if she's gonna tell him again or just like bring it up in passing and he's like, "I'm sorry, what?" because he wasn't listening the first time. And is she ever going to tell him about Cat Blank? I don't know, but right now it seems that their relationship is actually pretty good, which I'm not complaining about. I love Lady Noir. My heart would break if they were to split somehow. I know they're not together romantically, but like a friendship split, I would be inconsolable. I can't do it. So that doesn't seem like it's a possibility right now anyway, where we are with the episodes we've currently seen. And then we also have Lila and Chloe, who both just seem to have dropped off the face of the earth this season. Lila has done absolutely nothing. She's been in a couple of episodes, sat at the back of the class, and that's it. She's done nothing. We know from the finale description she's involved somehow, but how much involvement she actually has, I don't know. Lila has said nothing this season, and Chloe has had a role this season, but I would argue in seasons 1, 2 and 3, Chloe was kind of more of a main character, and you know, she was the whole catalyst in the season 3 finale. She was Miracle Queen, and since then she's just disappeared. She had prominent roles in 7 Soul Crusher, 8 Queen Banana, and I would say in episode 9 Daddy Aggressed as well. And from the leaks we've had, it does seem like she's going to get akumatized in Pedal Team as well. But that's only really 4 episodes. I know she's had a couple of lines here and there, like she said a couple of things in Wishmaker. I think she spoke in Guilt Trip as well. Might have been a few others, but for the most part she's really done next to nothing this season. So he is definitely an odd choice, and I really enjoyed the show having both the overall villain, which is obviously Gabriel with the help of Natalie, as well as having a child as a villain, which was Chloe as at the start as more of a petty bully, and then they brought in Lila as someone who was a bit more serious, a bit more substance to her, and now they've also brought in Felix, who is kind of walking the line between being a good person and being a bad person in the show. He's like a chaotic neutral in the middle between everyone else. So since they are seeming to just be ignoring how Cat Noir might feel about Ladybug telling someone else her identity, I am praying they go back to it, to be honest, because it's such an important point in my opinion to just miss it out entirely. Like, okay, whatever. And since Lila and Chloe have just gone on holiday, as it seems, it may be a good idea to bring Felix in as, like I said, this chaotic neutral character who's going to be like a child villain who's going to bring something different to the show, because like I said, Felix, I don't think he's inherently a bad person, but he's not a good person either. So I think he could kind of come in and cause chaos, but not to a point that would make people hate him. I think a lot of Felix episodes, if he is going to become a main character in the episodes he's in, could be something quite different as an audience for us to see for this show anyway, because he comes in, does something chaotic, but is also kind of helpful at the same time. And I feel like the writers will be more likely to commit to this because Felix doesn't live in France. I feel like in Miraculous, with the writers, with the way things are going, hence why the Cat Noir stuff hasn't been addressed, hence why everything was turned back in Ephemeral, is that they are often reluctant to commit to any long-term changes in the show that are really going to change the makeup of the show. They may do it eventually, and like I said, I haven't seen the rest of the season. I've seen just as much as you, so I don't know for definite. But it does seem like they are reluctant to do that. I don't know if it's because it's a kids show or just because they just don't want to change the way things work in the show, but it seems like they are very reluctant to do that. And if they had Cat Noir kind of betray Ladybug or like detach from Ladybug, they would have to show that in pretty much every single episode. And with Chloe and Lila, they probably have to show it in quite a few episodes, since they're, you know, most of the episodes take place at school. They'd have to do this a lot, which I think is why they don't want to commit to making Chloe or Lila more evil and have a more prominent role, and why they're not committing to Cat Noir pulling away from Ladybug more. And whilst, like I said, I would be heartbroken if it happened, I feel like we need it to happen at this stage. It's honestly just really frustrating seeing him moping around but not telling Ladybug why he's upset. Like, just tell her! Sorry, gets me very annoyed. Just tell her, please. However, with Felix, he lives in a different country, so when they want to bring this chaotic kind of villain slash not quite kind of villain into the show, they can do that, but then as soon as they want Felix gone, he can go back home again. So they're not committing to as big of a change, and it could really spice things up. He is definitely the anti-hero we need in Miraculous Ladybug, because whilst I think Chloe definitely has it in her to be an anti-hero, like in season 3 and season 2 towards the end, she was kind of becoming an anti-hero. Like, she was still kind of mean at school, but she was, in my opinion, trying to be a better person, and she was really helpful during Akoum, and she was also really helpful as Queen Bee as well. I really miss Queen Bee. Love Vesperia, love Zoe as well, but I miss Chloe and Queen Bee, I'm sorry. Anyway, Chloe is in the show a lot more, or she normally is in the show a lot more. She's been pretty much missing most of the season, but they would have to commit to having these anti-hero scenes of Chloe a lot more often since she lives in Paris. Felix doesn't, he lives in London, so he can come and go as the writers please, so it wouldn't be something as big they were committing to for Felix to come in and cause some chaotic energy. Like, we know he's going to be in this season 2 more times, and if Felix was only in the show, and if Felix was only in each season 2 or 3 times just to come in, cause some chaotic energy, but also kind of be helpful to Ladybug and Cat Noir and just Paris in general, I think it could be really refreshing for the show, since this season has been a lot more serious, definitely, and they just seem to be ignoring Chloe and Lila. I can understand to a certain extent why they're kind of moving Chloe aside, because Chloe, as much as I love her, she's definitely more of a petty villain. She's more just like a school bully rather than like evil. Like, I feel like I don't hate Chloe that much because I understand the reason for why she is the way she is. Whereas with Lila, she just seems downright evil, because whilst we can guess why she's the way she is. Her mum seems to be at work a lot. We don't know anything about her dad. So we can guess to why exactly Lila's that way, but we don't know for certain. So right now I'm like, oh, she's just a horrible person because I don't understand why she's this way. However, the show did kind of make her out to seem like she was this really evil person without really any motivation other than she wants to be with Adrian. Although I don't particularly think Lila has very many genuine feelings for Adrian, and as a result she hates Marinette, so is trying to sabotage her and get her away from Adrian. Again, a bit too convenient of a plot point, but whatever. But the show seems to be veering more towards more serious plot points going on with Gabriel and kind of like actually Marinette and Adrian's mental health. Marinette's mental health with all the responsibility she's got, and how Adrian's mental health is being affected by Ladybug's actions. And I think Felix could be someone nice to bring in who is kind of slightly evil but is also kind of good at his core. He's just not sure how to express it. So I definitely think Felix is what the show needs, but I could be entirely wrong because, like I said, I haven't seen the rest of the season and maybe Felix turns out to be an actual villain in the other 2 episodes he's in. But like I said, I don't actually know. So I'd love to know what you think about Felix in Miraculous. Do you think he could be a great anti-hero who just comes in the show every now and then? Or do you absolutely hate Felix and hope he's never there again? And would you like Lila or Chloe to take this role on? I mean, personally, I would prefer for Chloe to have this role. I like Chloe a lot more. I have much more of an emotional connection with her. I've only seen Felix twice versus to... I don't know how many times we've seen Chloe before. Nearly 100. She's been in most episodes, so probably nearly 100 episodes. Maybe like, let's go with 70 episodes. I have more of a connection with Chloe, obviously, than with Felix. I would prefer it to be her. But like I said, the writers don't like to seem to like committing to anything really big and long term, and Chloe would be a big and long term commitment since she lives in France. But Felix doesn't, so whenever they get sick of writing those storylines, he can go back to London. Problem solved. So I'd love to know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one, besties. Bye!